You ever poured your heart into something only to have it crushed? That's my story, and I'm laying it all bare. My name's Chloe, and I'm the one who turned a patch of overgrown dirt into Harvest Moon Organics, the kind of place that's got Portland's foodies lining up for my blackberry jam and goat cheese. This isn't just a job, it's my life. The smell of wet soil after a morning rain, the hum of bees at the Portland Farmers Market every Saturday, the way my hands ache after a long day in the fields, that's me. I built this from nothing with my own sweat and calloused fingers. Harvest Moon isn't just a farm, it's my heart, my soul, my everything. I thought I'd spend my life with this land, with the man I loved, but life's a bitch, and he screwed me over. Ethan, the guy I thought was my forever, turned out to be a snake. I gave everything to him, to us, to this dream we were supposed to share. And what did I get? A knife in the back. I thought we were building something real, something that'd outlast us. But while I was out here digging in the dirt, he was plotting to take it all away. I gave my heart to Harvest Moon, and someone tried to rip it away, to rip my whole life away. Let me take you back to how it all started. Picture this, Portland, Oregon, 5 years ago. I'm 29, scrappy, with dirt under my nails and a beat-up truck that barely runs. I'd just bought this plot of land, 10 acres of weeds and broken fences. Everyone told me I was crazy. You're gonna go broke, Chloe, they said. Organic farming? In this economy? But I didn't listen. I saw something in that land. Something alive. I could feel it in my bones. Like the earth was whispering to me, telling me it was mine to tame. So I got to work. I yanked out thorns, hauled manure, planted heirloom seeds, and built a greenhouse with my own 2 hands. I didn't sleep much those first 2 years, but I didn't care. Every sunrise felt like a promise. Fast forward, and Harvest Moon Organics is the talk of the town. My jams, blackberry, peach, and lavender, are selling out at the farmer's market. My goat cheese? People are calling it life-changing on Yelp. I'm not bragging, I'm just proud. I'd show up at the market in my muddy boots, hair in a messy bun, and folks would swarm my stall. Chloe, you got any of that rosemary chèvre left? They'd ask, and I'd grin, handing over a wax-sealed round like it was a piece of my heart. The market was my church, bustling with musicians strumming guitars, kids running through the aisles, the air thick with the smell of fresh bread and coffee. That's Portland for you, gritty, green, and alive. I wasn't just building a business, I was building a life. I had Ethan, my husband, who I thought was my rock. We met at a food festival, and he charmed the hell out of me with his easy smile and talk about wanting something real. I fell hard. We'd spend evenings dreaming up plans for the farm, maybe a vineyard one day, or a little cafe where we'd serve farm-to-table dinners. He'd laugh and say, "Chloe, you're going to make us famous." I believed him. I thought we were in this together, that he loved the land as much as I did. God, I was dumb. The farm was my sanctuary, but it wasn't easy. There were nights I'd collapse on the couch, my hands cracked from picking fruit, my back screaming from hauling crates. But every time I walked through my fields, saw the rows of lavender swaying in the breeze, heard the goats bleating in the barn, I felt alive. This was my dream, my legacy. I'd lie awake at night, imagining my kid, because, yeah, I wanted kids, running through these fields, learning to plant seeds, growing up with dirt on their knees like I did. I thought Ethan wanted that too. I thought we'd grow old here, sipping wine on the porch, watching the sun set over our empire. But then things started to shift. Little things at first, like how Ethan stopped coming to the market with me. "I've got work," he'd say. But I'd catch him on his phone, smirking at texts he wouldn't show me. He started talking about scaling up, about investors and big contracts, stuff that felt foreign to me. I'm a farmer, not a CEO. I wanted to keep things small, real. He'd roll his eyes, call me stubborn. I brushed it off, told myself he was just stressed. But deep down, I felt it, a crack in the foundation, a shadow creeping over my fields. I remember this one night, clear as day. I was bottling jam in the kitchen, the air sweet with berries, when Ethan came home late. His tie was loose, his hair a mess, and he smelled like bourbon. Long day? I asked, trying to keep it light. He just nodded, grabbed a beer, and sank into the couch, his eyes glued to his phone. I stood there, jars of jam cooling on the counter, and felt this ache in my chest, like I was losing him and I didn't even know why. I pushed it down, kept working because that's what I do. I keep going. Looking back, I should have seen it. The late nights, the excuses, the way he'd flinch when I touched him. But I was too busy pouring my soul into Harvest Moon, too busy believing in us. I thought love was enough, that hard work and good intentions could hold it all together. I was wrong. Ethan wasn't just drifting, he was scheming, and I was about to find out just how far he'd go to screw me over. You guys ever feel that pit in your stomach? Like you know something's wrong, but you're too scared to face it? That was me, standing in my kitchen, surrounded by jars of jam with no clue my world was about to come crashing down. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how it all went to hell. Anyone ever loved someone so much you ignore the red flags? That was me, blind as hell, thinking Ethan was my moonlight, my forever. God, I want to slap myself for being so dumb. I'm Chloe, and this is the part of my story where I fell hard, dreamed big, and missed all the signs that my world was about to crumble. Harvest Moon Organics was my heart, but Ethan? He was the pulse I thought kept it beating. Turns out, he was poison, and I was drinking it down with a smile. Let's rewind to 3 years ago, Portland's annual food festival, the kind of place where the air's thick with grilled corn and hipster vibes. I was 30, manning my Harvest Moon stall, hair in a messy braid, hands sticky from sampling peach jam. Ethan strolled up, all charm and sharp cheekbones, wearing a flannel that screamed, "I'm not like other suits." He bought a jar of lavender jam, leaned in, and said, "This is the realest thing I've tasted in years." I laughed, thinking he was just smooth talking. But he kept coming back, asking about my farm, my goats, my life. He said he was sick of the corporate grind, the fake smiles, the boardroom bullshit. "You're living the dream, Chloe," he'd say, eyes locked on mine. I thought he saw me, the real me. Dirt under my nails, fire in my gut. I was hooked. Those early days were magic. We'd spend weekends at the farm, picking lavender under a pink sunset, the air sweet and heavy. I'd tease him for not knowing a hoe from a rake, and he'd laugh, pulling me into his arms. One night, sprawled on a blanket in the field, we dreamed up a future, a sustainable farm, maybe a little shop, kids running through the rows. "If we have a girl, let's call her Lavender," he said, grinning. I melted. I saw it all, us growing old, gray hair and calloused hands, building something that'd last. I thought he was my partner, my equal. God, I was dumb. But Harvest Moon started blowing up, and that's when the cracks showed. My jams were in every artisanal shop in Portland. My cheese was on charcuterie boards at trendy bistros. I was hustling, markets, deliveries, late nights bottling. Ethan? He started acting like my success was a problem. He'd come home from his consulting gigs, toss his briefcase down, and sigh, "You're always at the farm, Chloe." I'd laugh it off, say, "This is us, babe. This is our dream." But he'd give me this look, like I was some hick who didn't get it. He started throwing around words like branding and expansion, pushing me to hire managers, go corporate. "You're too rustic," he'd say, like it was an insult. Rustic? That's my whole damn brand. Then there was his family. His mom, Mrs. Sterling, was this ice-cold socialite who looked at me like I was a stray dog her son dragged home. At their fancy dinners, she'd sip her wine and say shit like, "Organic farming is so quaint." His sister, Olivia, was worse. She'd smirk across the table, muttering, "Chloe's little hobby must be exhausting." Hobby? I built a business from dirt. I'd bite my tongue, thinking I had to play nice for Ethan, but every jab made my skin crawl. My brother Liam saw through it. "Chloe, that guy's trouble," he warned one night over beers. "He's not one of us." I brushed it off. "He loves me, Liam. You'll see." I thought I could hold on to him. Turns out, I was just digging my own grave. The shift was subtle at first. Ethan stopped helping at the farm, said he was too busy. He'd spend hours on his phone, texting, smirking, then locking the screen when I got close. He'd come home late, smelling like cologne I didn't recognize, muttering about client dinners. I'd ask, "Everything okay?" And he'd snap, "Jesus, Chloe, not everything's a problem." But it was. I felt it in my bones like a storm rolling in over the fields. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying his words, his coldness. Was I working too hard? Was I not enough? I'd pour my heart into Harvest Moon, into him, and still feel like I was losing. One memory sticks out, sharp as a blade. It was a rainy Sunday, and I was at the farmer's market, my boots sinking into the mud, smiling through the ache in my back. Ethan promised he'd stop by, help with the stall. He never showed. I called, got voicemail. Later, he strolled in at dusk, casual as hell, saying he got caught up. I wanted to scream. Caught up with what? But I didn't. I just packed up my crates, my hands shaking, and drove home in silence. That night, he slept on the couch, and I cried in the shower, the water washing away my tears, but not the doubt. I told myself it was stress, that he'd come around. But deep down, I knew. He was turning on me like a snake. Looking back, I see the red flags waving like warning signs in a storm. The late nights, the locked phone, the way he'd flinch when I hugged him. But love makes you stupid. I thought I could fix it, that my grit, my work, my heart could hold us together. I was wrong. Ethan wasn't just pulling away. He was building a whole other life behind my back. And I was about to find out just how deep his betrayal ran. You guys know that feeling, like your gut's screaming something's wrong, but your heart won't listen? That's where I was, standing in my fields, lavender swaying, with no clue the man I loved was about to burn my world down, but I'm not done yet. Let me tell you how I found out the truth. You guys know that gut punch feeling when you're betrayed? Like the ground's ripped out from under you and you're falling, helpless? That's where I was, standing in the ruins of everything I thought I knew. I'm Chloe, and this is the part of my story where the man I loved, Ethan, stabbed me in the back. Harvest Moon Organics was my life, my blood, my soul, and he wasn't just cheating. He was plotting to steal it all. I was fighting for my farm, my future, and the kid growing inside me with no clue how deep the lies ran. It started slow, like a poison seeping in. Ethan was always busy now, disappearing for meetings that lasted till midnight. He'd come home, eyes cold as stone, barely looking at me. I'd try to talk, ask about his day, and he'd brush me off, muttering, "Not now, Chloe." I'd stand in our kitchen, the air sweet with cooling jam, feeling like a ghost in my own home. Then Sarah showed up. She was at one of his work dinners I got dragged to, all sharp heels and sharper smiles, the kind of woman who looks at you like you're a bug. Ethan introduced her as a consultant, said she was a game changer for his projects. She'd laugh at his jokes, touch his arm, and I wanted to laugh too, but my heart was breaking. I saw the way he looked at her, like she was the future and I was the past. I tried to shake it off, told myself I was paranoid. But then Mark, my seed supplier, pulled me aside at the Portland Farmers Market. He's a gruff guy, not one for drama, so when he handed me a folder and said, "Chloe, you need to see this," my stomach dropped. Inside were emails, bank statements, contracts, proof that Ethan and Sarah weren't just Cap K messing around behind my back. They were scheming to steal my recipes, my supplier contracts, my whole damn business. Ethan had been funneling money from Harvest Moon's accounts, setting up shell companies with Sarah. My hands shook holding those papers. The man I trusted, the man I loved, stabbed me in the back. I wanted to scream, to burn the whole world down, but I just stood there, the market buzzing around me, feeling like I'd been hollowed out. Then came the kicker. I found out I was pregnant. I'd been feeling off, tired, queasy, and a drugstore test confirmed it. I was terrified but hopeful, thinking maybe this could fix us. I told Ethan one night, my voice shaking, expecting him to light up like he did when we dreamed of kids. He smiled, said, "That's great, babe." But it was fake, like he was reading a script. Later, I overheard him on the phone with Sarah, laughing, saying, "The kid's perfect timing. She'll have to share the farm now." Share the farm? My farm? The one I built from dirt while he sat on his ass? I cried like an idiot, locked in the bathroom, the test stick still in my hand. But then I told myself, "Chloe, get up. For your kid, for Harvest Moon." I wasn't going to let him take what was mine. Ethan's family made it worse. His mom, Mrs. Sterling, called me to their mansion, all polished marble and cold stairs. She sat there, sipping tea, saying they needed to protect the family's reputation. Her plan? Forced me to sign over half of Harvest Moon to Ethan, claiming it was joint property. Olivia, his sister, chimed in, smirking, "You're just a hick holding Ethan back." A hick? I wanted to flip their damn table. I built a business that's feeding half of Portland's hipsters, and they're calling me a hick? I walked out, my fists clenched, swearing I wouldn't let them win. The whole world turned on me, but I swore I wouldn't let them take what I built. I went back to the farm, trying to hold it together. The fields were still there, lavender swaying, goats bleating, but it felt different, tainted. I'd walk the rows at dusk, my hand on my stomach, whispering to the baby, "We're gonna be okay." But I wasn't sure. Ethan and Sarah were moving fast. Mark showed me more emails where they were pitching my recipes to big distributors, claiming they'd rebranded Harvest Moon. Rebranded? That's my blood in those jars, my nights spent perfecting every batch. I felt like I was drowning, like every step I took was sinking me deeper into their trap. One night, I sat in the barn, the air thick with hay and motor oil, staring at a jar of my blackberry jam. It was my best seller, the one people lined up for. I thought about smashing it, letting the glass shatter like my life. But I didn't. I held it tight, the cool glass grounding me. I remembered why I started this, because I loved the land, because I believed in something real. Ethan could try to take it, but he'd have to pry it from my hands. I wasn't just fighting for me anymore. I was fighting for my kid, for the life I'd promised them. You guys ever feel like the people you love most are the ones who hurt you worst? That's where I was, surrounded by my fields, my dreams, with a baby on the way and a husband who'd sold me out. But I wasn't done. I was about to fight back, and Ethan had no idea what was coming. You guys believe in justice? That moment when you stand up, fists clenched, and take back what's yours. That's where I was, ready to burn it all down to save Harvest Moon Organics. I'm Chloe, and this is the part where I stopped crying and started fighting. Ethan, Sarah, and his whole damn family thought they could steal my farm, my life, my kids' future. They thought I was just some hick they could outsmart. Idiots. I turned the tables and I won. After Mark showed me the proof of Ethan's betrayal, those emails, bank statements, contracts, I wasn't just hurt. I was pissed. My farm, my blood, my sleepless nights, and he thought he could hand it to Sarah like it was nothing. Hell no. I needed a plan, someone who could fight as dirty as they did. That's when I found Mrs. Chen, a lawyer with a reputation for chewing up liars and spitting them out. She was a tiny woman, all sharp suits and sharper eyes. And when I dumped the folder on her desk, she didn't flinch. "Chloe," she said, "they're sloppy. We've got this." She dug deeper than I could have imagined, pulled security footage from the farm showing Ethan and Sarah sneaking into my office, got Mark's sworn statement about their shady deals, even traced bank records proving Ethan siphoned off my money. Every piece was a brick in the wall I was building to bury them. I knew I had to face Ethan, to look him in the eye and let him know I wasn't his doormat. It was a rainy night, the kind Portland's famous for, and I waited in our kitchen, the air heavy with the smell of lavender from a batch I'd been bottling. He walked in, tie loose, smelling like bourbon and guilt. I slid the folder across the counter, my voice steady. "I know everything, Ethan. You and Sarah, the money, the contracts." His face went white, but he didn't even have the guts to apologize. "You're blowing this out of proportion," he stammered. Out of proportion? I wanted to scream, "You jerk, you didn't lift a finger for Harvest Moon." Instead, I said, "I'm done. My lawyer's got it all. You're not getting a dime." He laughed this cold, ugly sound and said, "It's our farm, Chloe. You can't cut me out." Our farm? I looked him dead in the eye. "Watch me." He didn't fight alone. His mom, Mrs. Sterling, and his sister Olivia doubled down, showing up at our house the next day like they owned it. Mrs. Sterling sat on my couch, all pearls and venom, saying, "We're a family, Chloe. The farm's a shared asset." Olivia smirked, adding, Don't embarrass yourself fighting this. Embarrass myself? I wanted to throw them out, but I kept my cool. You want to fight? I said. You'll get one, but Harvest Moon's mine. They left, but not before Mrs. Sterling hissed, "You'll regret this." I didn't. I was done playing nice. The courtroom was where it all went down. It was a gray Portland morning, rain smearing the windows of the courthouse. Ethan's side came out swinging, painting me as a jealous wife, a paranoid mess who didn't appreciate their support. Mrs. Sterling took the stand, lying through her teeth about how their family funded Harvest Moon. Funded? They gave me a loan years ago, paid back with interest before Ethan and I even married. I sat there, my hands clenched, watching them spin their story. But Mrs. Chen was a beast. She shredded their lies like tissue paper. She presented the deed proving I'd bought the land myself, bank records showing I'd built the business alone, and those damning emails where Ethan and Sarah plotted to steal my recipes. She played the security footage. Ethan and Sarah, clear as day, rifling through my office. The judge's face hardened. When Mrs. Chen dropped the bank statements showing Ethan's theft, the room went quiet. Ethan wouldn't even look at me. I wanted to smirk at them. Idiots thought they could outsmart me? The judge ruled in my favor. Harvest Moon was mine. Every acre, every jar, every damn goat. Ethan's shared asset claim got laughed out of court. Mrs. Chen squeezed my hand under the table, and I felt something I hadn't in months: power. I'd fought for what was mine, and I'd won. That's the American way, right? You build something, you defend it, and no one gets to take it away. But it wasn't just about the farm. It was about my kid, the one growing inside me, the one Ethan thought he could use as leverage. In court, I saw him for what he was: a coward who'd sell out his own child for a payday. I walked out of that courthouse, rain soaking my hair, and felt the weight lift. I wasn't just saving Harvest Moon. I was saving myself, my future, my baby's future. The fields were waiting for me, lavender swaying, goats bleating, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. You guys ever fight for something you love and come out stronger? That's what I did. Ethan, Sarah, and his family thought they could break me, but they didn't know who they were messing with. I was down, but I wasn't out. And I was about to rebuild, better than ever. Folks, life can knock you down, but you choose you. That's what I did. I'm Chloe, and this is where my story ends. Not with a broken heart, but with a fire in my gut and a future I built from the ashes. Harvest Moon. Organics is still mine. My kid's safe, and I'm standing taller than ever. Ethan, Sarah, and his whole family tried to rip it all away, but I fought back and won. Life's tough, but I'm tougher. After the courtroom showdown, Ethan, Sarah, and Olivia got slapped with fraud charges. The judge didn't just side with me, he tore their lies apart. Ethan's shell companies were exposed, Sarah's consulting gigs were revealed as a front, and Olivia's smug ass got caught laundering some of the cash Ethan siphoned. They're still tangled in legal messes, but I don't care. They're out of my life. Mrs. Sterling, that icy queen, hasn't shown her face since the ruling. Word around Portland is she's too embarrassed to leave her mansion. Good. Let her stew. Harvest Moon Organics. Every acre, every jar, every damn goat belongs to me and my kid. I won, but it still hurts. Not because I loved Ethan, but because I believed in love. I went back to the farm, my sanctuary. The fields were waiting, lavender swaying under a pink dusk, goats bleating like they knew I'd been through hell. I was 6 months pregnant, my belly rounding, and every kick from my kid felt like a reminder, we're in this together. I named her Lavender, just like Ethan and I dreamed, but not for him, for me, for the land that never let me down. I'd walk the rows at sunrise, my hands in the dirt, breathing in the sharp, sweet air. This land never betrayed me. People do. I'd bottle jam in the kitchen, Lavender napping nearby, her tiny breaths keeping me grounded. The pain didn't vanish, but it faded, like a bruise you forget until you press it. The farmer's market became my church again. I'd set up my stall, same as always, muddy boots and messy bun, but now with Lavender in a sling against my chest. Portland's foodies didn't just buy my jam, they rallied around me. Chloe, you're a badass, they'd say, grabbing extra jars. The market buzzed. musicians strumming, kids darting through the aisles, the air thick with coffee and fresh bread. One regular, an old guy with a gray beard, slipped me a note. "You're tougher than this town's rain." I kept it in my pocket, a reminder I wasn't alone. My brother Liam started showing up too, hauling crates and cracking jokes. "Told you that jerk was trouble," he'd say, but his grin was proud. I'd smile back, feeling the weight lift. Harvest Moon's stronger than ever. My blackberry jam's still the talk of Portland, and I'm experimenting with new cheeses. Rosemary's a hit, but I'm playing with time next. I hired a couple locals to help, freeing me up to spend time with Lavender. She's got my fire, toddling through the fields, giggling when the goats nudge her. I see her future here, dirt on her knees, learning the land like I did. I don't dream of Ethan anymore or the life we planned. I dream of Lavender, of what I'll build for her. A vineyard, maybe, or that farm-to-table cafe. Whatever it is, it'll be ours, built on my terms. Sometimes I sit on the porch at sunset, lavender in my lap, the sky streaked orange and gold. The ache's still there, a shadow of what Ethan did, but it doesn't own me. I think about how he could have been part of something real, something good. He chose greed, chose Sarah, chose lies. Me? I chose the land, my kid, and myself. I remember the night I almost smashed that jar of jam, ready to let it all break. I'm glad I didn't. That jar's on my shelf now, a reminder of what I survived. Life's not a fairy tale. It's messy, it's hard, but it's mine. You guys ever pick yourself up after the world tries to crush you? That's what I did. I'm not saying it's easy. Some days I'm bone tired, juggling the farm and a toddler, wondering if I'm enough. But then Lavender laughs or a customer raves about my cheese, and I know I'm doing it right. Ethan thought he could take my heart, my home, my everything. He was wrong. I'm Chloe, I'm Harvest Moon, and I'm tougher than he'll ever know.